Your love triggers the avoidant. Your love, your empathy, your compassion triggers them to their core. And the harder you love them, the more triggered they get. The harder you love them, the more they withhold their love from you. The harder you love them, the more pain you endure. This is your romantic partner. This is the person that is with you. This is the person that's supposed to be there for you. This is the person that's supposed to care about your wants and needs. This is the person that's supposed to care about you feeling loved. But instead, your love is met with punishment. No, they're not doing it for the purposes of punishing you. This is a deeply insecure person that feels tons of anxiety with emotional closeness. This is a person that prioritizes their own needs and feelings and wants over their partner's. Their perceived mood, feelings, desires always comes first. Their partner's always second. And this is because of their childhood attachment wounds. This is a person that received consistent childhood emotional neglect, growing up in households where their emotional needs were not met, where you didn't talk about feelings. When they tried to express themselves as children, their feelings were rejected, shot down. They were perhaps even reprimanded for having any kind of negative emotion. So what they learned is that emotional closeness isn't safe. The people that you're supposed to rely on for your emotional needs, such as their parents, if you rely on them, they're going to disappoint you, reject you, abandon you. They grew up to personalize this emotional neglect, feeling like there's something wrong with them, that they're defective, not lovable, worthless. And this is why they feel so unsafe with emotional closeness, because they have these walls up and their subconscious fears, if I let my walls down, if I get too vulnerable, I'm going to be exposed as being unlovable, defective, and I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get abandoned. So emotional closeness feels unsafe. Emotional distance feels safe. Now, deep down, they do long for that closeness. They do long for that connection like anybody else, which is why they go into romantic relationships. Plus, they are deeply insecure and they need that external validation. But once they get the thing that they crave, once they get that love, and especially when they find it with a partner that loves them unconditionally, it triggers them and they deactivate. Meaning they take their feelings for their partner, they suppress them, they bury them, and they block off their own access to their feelings. They learn that feelings and vulnerability aren't safe, so what they learn to do is avoid it, suppress it, detach, push this person away. That's how they learn to keep themselves safe. But when they're doing so, they are really truly only thinking of themselves. They're only thinking of their own perceived wants and needs. Yes, they are deeply insecure. They feel not lovable and they fear that you're going to figure that out, that they're not lovable and you're going to reject them and abandon them. But you so desperately want to prove to them that no, you are lovable, you are worthy of my love, and I'm not going to abandon you. So you try to love them harder. You try harder to show them that you're going to be there for them. You tolerate behaviors that you probably shouldn't tolerate. You self-sacrifice your own wants and needs to cater to them, to help them feel safe and secure. And no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you love them, no matter how hard you try to show them that they're safe with you, they withdraw, they run, they distance, they ghost, perhaps even cheat and discard you. And you feel absolutely devastated because you've been pouring everything of yourself into this person, only to get breadcrumbs or perhaps even a blindsiding discard in return. And you feel so much empathy for them because you know that they have these wounds, that they're insecure and they have a low self-esteem. But your love and your empathy only trigger them further. You can't fix them, and loving them harder is not going to fix them. It is only going to trigger them more and more and more. So how do you get through to them? Well, you hold boundaries. Boundaries being your limits of what you want, don't want, what you need, don't need, what you'll tolerate, not tolerate, and what your expectations are. But my boundaries might cause them to run away. That's right. Your boundaries might cause them to run away because your needs, your feelings are not really consideration for them when they're not actively working on themselves, especially when they're triggered. But then you are going to spare yourself. You're going to spare yourself extra time and energy that you'd be investing into them to get nothing in return. You'd be respecting your own self-worth by holding those limits and allowing yourself to stand up for yourself and not be treated in a way that hurts you. Now, if you do hold boundaries, there is the chance that they recognize that this behavior is not acceptable to you, and they could potentially lose you if they don't actually work to meet your needs, to meet your boundaries, to respect your feelings. And if they do that, excellent, because that's the path towards change. But if they don't and they do run away, or if you have to end the relationship because they refuse to meet your needs and respect your boundaries, yeah, it's terrible to lose a relationship, but you're losing a relationship that was a one-way street. You're losing a relationship that you were putting in all the work and they were giving very little of themselves in return. What kind of relationship is that really? If you fail to hold boundaries, yes, it could extend longer, but that heartbreaking ending is pretty close to inevitable. So now you're going to get devastated, but further down the road after you spent more time and energy into this person. Your boundaries are your sword and shield. They will protect you. And yes, you want to prove to them that your love is real and you're the real thing and that you're worth being in a relationship with. But if they don't want to recognize their own self-worth, if they don't want to recognize your worth, if they don't want to work on themselves, if they don't want to take accountability, if they don't want to reflect on how their behavior can be quite selfish and hurtful, if they don't want to take ownership and work on it, there's nothing you can do because you can't fix another person. People can only fix themselves. Yeah, if they're actually doing the work and committing to it and following through, you can absolutely be there to love and support them and help them along the way. But they have to want it. And your love, no matter how deep and true and pure it is, will not fix them. If they're not working on themselves, that love, no matter how unconditional it is, will only trigger them further.